They thought you'd always be there, always ready to listen, always picking up the pieces, always the one to understand, to sacrifice, to stay. They thought no matter how many times they pushed you aside, ignored your worth, or treated you as an afterthought, you would never walk away. But people don't realize the worth of something until it's gone. They didn't see the weight they placed on your shoulders, didn't notice how many times you put them first while they put you last. You were the steady presence, the reliable one, the person they turned to when the world got too heavy. But when you needed the same in return, silence, excuses, indifference. You gave them chance after chance, thinking maybe this time they'd see it. Maybe this time they'd appreciate it. But they never did. And that's when it hit you. Some people only value you when you're no longer an option. You didn't leave because you wanted to. You left because they gave you no choice. You reached a point where staying hurt more than walking away. A point where their absence felt lighter than their presence. They assumed you'd always forgive, always overlook, always come back. But they never stopped to ask themselves, what happens when you don't? That's when the panic sets in. At first, they pretend not to notice, act as if your silence is meaningless. But then the little things start to add up. The unanswered calls, the lack of your name in their notifications, the realization that you no longer ask how they're doing. That's when it starts to sink in. Because it's not just about losing you. It's about losing the version of themselves that existed when they had you. The version that always had someone to lean on, someone to listen, someone to care. And now they have to face the emptiness they created. You were never asking for too much, just for the same loyalty you gave, the same effort you poured in. But they were too blind, too arrogant, too certain that you would never walk away. But you did. And now they're left with nothing but memories, ones they can't relive, moments they can't undo, words they can't take back. They took you for granted, and now they're paying the price. They never thought the day would come, the day you'd stop answering, the day you'd stop showing up, the day you'd finally choose yourself over them. See, they assumed you'd never get tired, thought you'd always be available, always forgiving, always willing to put them first, even when they gave you nothing in return. They mistook your kindness for weakness, thought your patience was endless, that no matter how many times they ignored your needs, dismissed your feelings, or took advantage of your loyalty, you would stay. Because that's who you were, right? The one who never walks away. But even the strongest souls have limits. And the moment you reached yours, that's when the panic set in. At first, they didn't believe it. They told themselves you were just upset, that you'd cool off and come back like always, that you just needed time. But then time passed, and you didn't return. No more answering their last-minute calls. No more being their emotional safety net. No more dropping everything the moment they needed you. The same person they once overlooked was now gone, and suddenly, they realized just how much you meant. Funny how they only appreciate you when you're no longer an option. Now, they replay every moment, searching for the exact second they lost you. They scroll through old messages, rereading the ones they ignored. They wonder if there was something they could have said, something they could have done. But deep down, they know the truth. This wasn't sudden. It was coming for a long time. You gave them warning signs, but they didn't listen. You pulled away slowly, but they didn't notice. You hinted at your exhaustion, your disappointment, your hurt, but they brushed it off, assuming you'd always be there. And now they sit with the weight of their own choices. The world feels a little colder without you in it. The absence of your energy, your support, your presence, it lingers. They look around at the people they prioritized over you, the ones they thought were more important. But somehow, it's not the same. Because no one else gave like you did. No one else cared the way you did. And now they finally understand what they had. But it's too late, because you're not coming back. They expected a reaction, maybe anger, maybe tears, maybe one last fight where you begged them to change. Because that's how it usually goes, right? People yell, people argue, people try to make themselves heard. But you gave them nothing. No long speeches, no desperate explanations, no final warnings. And that hit harder than any words ever could. See, they were prepared for drama. They were ready to call you emotional, too sensitive, or overreacting if you lashed out. That would have given them control, given them an excuse to ignore the truth. But you didn't give them that luxury. Instead, you walked away with quiet certainty. No debates, no justifications. Just a locked door and a version of yourself they will never have access to again. At first, they pretended not to care, shrugged it off, told themselves you'd be back, that you were just going through a phase. But then days turned into weeks, and the silence grew heavier. No more messages from you checking in. No more calls asking how they're doing. No more presence, no more warmth, no more energy they could take for granted. That's when the regret started creeping in. Because now, there's an emptiness where you used to be. A void they can't fill. And it's not just about losing a person. It's about losing the version of themselves they were when they had you. Your absence forces them to sit with their own reflection. Forces them to acknowledge the way they treated you. There's no one left to blame. No one left to fix things. Just them. And the echoes of everything they ignored. And the worst part? No matter how much they try to distract themselves through other people, through noise, through anything that numbs the sting, they can't shake the truth. You were real. You were rare. And now they have to live with the fact that they lost you. Not because of fate, not because of bad timing, but because of their own choices. And nothing haunts a person more than knowing they had something special and let it slip through their fingers. Regret is a slow, creeping poison. It doesn't hit all at once. No, it drips bit by bit until it's all they can taste. At first, they convinced themselves it didn't matter, that losing you wasn't a big deal, that they could replace you, distract themselves, move on like nothing happened. But reality has a way of catching up. Now they replay the moments in their head, searching for the exact point where everything shifted, wondering when things changed, when your patience started thinning, when your eyes stopped lighting up around them, when your silence became louder than your words. And worse, they remember the version of you they had, the one who cared, who gave, who forgave. They remember the late-night conversations, the way you listened when no one else did, the way you showed up for them even when they never did the same for you, the loyalty they took for granted, the love they assumed would never run out. And now it's gone. There's nothing more painful than realizing you had something rare and destroying it with your own hands. They wish they could go back. Wish they could take back the dismissive words, the careless actions, the moments they brushed you aside like you didn't matter. But regret doesn't fix betrayal. Regret doesn't erase the fact that when you needed them, they were nowhere to be found. Regret doesn't undo the nights you spent wondering if you were asking for too much, if you were the problem, if you should shrink yourself just to be enough for them. And that's what makes it hurt even more. Because now they see it. Now they understand what they lost. But it's too late. Because you're not bitter. You're not waiting for an apology. You're not holding on to the past, hoping they'll come back and make things right. No, you're gone. And you're not looking back. And that's the part that kills them the most. They can't undo what's already done. They can't reach into the past and make better choices. All they have left now is the weight of their own mistakes and the lesson they'll carry forever. Some losses, they're permanent. They swore you'd come crawling back, convinced themselves that without them, you'd fall apart, that you needed their approval, their validation, their presence to survive. That's the thing about people who overestimate their importance. They mistake your loyalty for dependence. But the joke's on them, because you never needed them. They needed you. They were the ones feeding off your energy, your kindness, your strength. The ones who relied on you to clean up their messes, to be their emotional crutch, to always be there no matter how carelessly they treated you. And now they see the truth. You didn't break. You didn't beg. You didn't fall apart. You thrived. You turned their absence into fuel. You poured into yourself the same love and effort you wasted on them. You rebuilt your life without them in it. And somehow, it's better than ever. And that's what stings the most. Because deep down, they wanted you to struggle. Wanted you to miss them so badly that you'd ignore everything they did just to have them back. But instead, you're proving something they never expected. They weren't a loss. They were dead weight. And now that they're gone, you move faster, shine brighter, live freer. They watch from a distance, trying to understand how you did it, how you walked away and never looked back, how you became someone stronger, wiser, untouchable. But the truth is simple. They were never the reason you stood tall, never the foundation holding you up. You were always enough on your own. And now that you see it too, there's no going back. Because the real loss, it was never yours. It was theirs. They thought losing you was nothing. Just another person walking away. Just another closed chapter. They were wrong. Because now they have to watch. Watch as you rise higher than they ever expected. Watch as you become everything they once doubted. Watch as you prove, over and over, that you never needed them to begin with. And that burns more than any words ever could. See, they never imagined this outcome. They thought you'd collapse without them. That walking away from you meant leaving you in ruins. But instead, you turned their absence into power. Every success you achieve, every step forward you take, It reminds them of what they lost, what they threw away, what they will never get back. They scroll through your life from a distance, pretending they don't care. But the silence eats at them, because they remember when they had access to you, when they had a front row seat to your energy, your kindness, your loyalty. And now they watch from the sidelines, knowing they can't reach you anymore. That's the thing about taking someone for granted. You don't realize what you had until it's gone. And by the time regret sets in, by the time they finally understand your worth, you've already moved too far ahead. You don't see them. You don't think about them. They're just a name in your past. But they see you, and that's their punishment. Not your anger, not your revenge, just the fact that you're out there thriving while they're stuck wishing they could undo the damage they caused. They thought losing you was nothing. Now, it's their biggest regret. They thought you were replaceable, that they could walk away, find someone new, and move on without a second thought. But now they know the truth, because no matter how many people they surround themselves with, something is missing, something they can't quite name, but they feel it every single day. See, replacements don't come with the same depth, the same loyalty, the same presence. They can try to recreate what they had with you, try to mold someone else into the version of you they took for granted. But it won't work, because real connections can't be copied. They can't be forced. And the moment they start comparing, because they will, they'll realize that no one else measures up. They'll think back to the way you understood them without words, the way you stood by them when no one else did, the way you gave them chance after chance, even when they didn't deserve it. They'll search for that same energy in someone new and come up empty, because you weren't just another person in their life. You were the best thing that ever happened to them, but they didn't see it. And now they have to live with that loss. They won't admit it. They'll pretend they're fine, act like nothing has changed, but deep down, they feel it, that void, that emptiness, that realization that they gambled with something real and lost. You don't have to remind them. Their own life does that for you. Every failed connection, every shallow conversation, every moment they reach for something that isn't there, it's a reminder that they had something rare and they threw it away. That's the thing about people who take you for granted. They don't realize their mistake when they still have you. They realize it when it's too late. The tables have turned. You've moved forward, grown, evolved, thrived, and them, they're stuck. Stuck in the same patterns, the same regrets, the same cycle of wondering what went wrong. They thought they could do better. Thought they could walk away without consequences. Thought they could replace you like you were nothing more than an option. But life has a way of teaching harsh lessons. And now, they're learning the hard way. Because while you were healing, they were searching for something, someone, anything to fill the void. But every new connection feels shallow. Every moment feels empty. Because no matter where they turn, they can't escape one simple truth. They lost something real. And they're the ones who let it slip away. At first, they denied it, told themselves they were better off, that losing you didn't matter. But time has a way of exposing lies. And now, in the silence, in the moments where no one is watching, they feel it, that ache, that regret. that slow realization that they had something rare, and they destroyed it with their own hands. They see you thriving, and it burns. They hear your name, and it stings. They look at the life you're building without them, and it reminds them of everything they threw away. But here's the real punishment. It's not just about losing you. It's about knowing they'll never get you back. They can try to reach out, test the waters, pretend like nothing happened. But they already know the answer. Because once someone sees your true colors, they can't unsee them. And you've seen enough. You gave them chances. You gave them time. You gave them grace. And they wasted every bit of it. So now they're the ones left wondering. Wondering what could have been. Wondering what if they had treated you better. Wondering if they'll ever find something like you again. Spoiler alert, they won't. Because people like you don't come around twice. And that's the price they have to pay.